Hello everyone, this is GSTE, and today I'm going to be ranking all the Godzilla films that I've seen recently. There are some films I haven't seen, like Godzilla 1998, the anime Godzilla films, the 2014 and 2019 American Godzilla movies, but I've seen the rest. So let's get on with it. First we have Destroy All Monsters. It was a decent Godzilla film. It had a lot of problems with it. I think that it could have done better with the story department. And it was kind of a lot of plot holes. I think the plot wasn't just developed well enough. But the suits and the designs and the fight scenes, that's what makes up for the movie, and I think that's what will make it a B. Since I think it's actually pretty good. Next we have Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. A lot of people put this really high, this one. I actually thought watching it that I would probably put it high too the first time I watched it, like I think probably like 6 months now, but when I watched it, it wasn't really that good, in my opinion, of course. It just didn't really, a lot of the story and the fights, especially the fight scenes, and they just weren't really developed that well, I don't think. And some of the suits and stuff like that, and King Ghidorah didn't really do much. That's my major complaint about it. Godzilla, King Ghidorah, nothing really much happened in the fight, and I didn't really like that much. Okay, next we have Godzilla 2001, the jet long name. Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, All Monsters Attack, I think it's called. So, this one was actually alright, I guess. It's hard to say where I would put it. I think maybe it's hard to decide where exactly this one. So this was a 5. So I think I'll put this up here. But the reason why I put it here is because I thought, it had like really good what's called designs with the buildings and stuff, but I didn't really like the Godzilla suit. The Baragon suit was alright, but I didn't really like the Mothra design suit, and I really didn't like the King Ghidorah suit. The heads looked like, the guy's arms when there or something, and the heads were just really short, and I thought that it didn't really look that good, in my opinion. The suits, at least. But the plot, it was alright, I guess, but I didn't really like it that much. And the fights were alright too, but it's just like an alright film. I think I'd put like a, out of 10, the Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, would be a 5, and this would be like almost a 6. That's why it's almost a B. But I just didn't really like it that much. A lot of people put it like in the S area or like A, but it was alright for me. And usually there's an E rating right here. There's supposed to be E, so C is like the middle, not like close to the bottom. So this is actually a pretty decent rating. But next, let's see what we have down here. Next we have, I think they call it I don't know what they call this one. It's Godzilla's Revenge in the American one, but it's called something else in the Japanese version. I think it's like All Monsters Attack or something. Or yeah, I don't really know what it's called. But I think this one's obviously really bad, but is definitely the worst Godzilla film out there. I don't think any other film compares to that one. I don't think I've seen no, I think I've seen some worse films, but none to like this extreme level where it's just this obviously bad. The story is kind of not, it was alright until like the end, where they basically, the kid, what's called basically becomes the bully or something, and then the fight scenes, there was kind of a lot of reused footage. Most of it was, and there were some like scenes with the fighting and stuff, but they were basically redone scenes of Son of Godzilla and stuff like that. So I didn't really like that one at all. That's why it's in the lowest category. It wouldn't be an E. So next we have Godzilla 2000. I think that's what it is, because I've never seen this poster before, but wait a second, let me put it here for a second. So this one I would rate, I don't really know. Let's see. It was pretty good with like the designs of Godzilla and stuff like that, and the buildings, they were really good, I think, the designs. But the plot wasn't really that well done. The effects had a lot of issues, especially the effects with like the spaceship. Now I'm starting to remember more and more. But I think I rated this film 6.2 or something. So that's higher than this one, so I'm going to put this one here. I rated Destroy Monsters a 6. So this one's going to be higher than that one. Let's see what else we have. Tokyo SOS. I just watched that one recently. It was pretty good, but I don't think it was as good as what it could have been. It was basically a redone movie of a lot of other Godzilla movies. Basically a redo of Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla 2, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, and the movie that came before it, the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. It was kind of like, felt like it was just like a redoing of previous movies and stuff like that. It didn't really add much, except for it had like really good special effects and stuff like that. And really, really good animation and the designs, the buildings and the monster suits and stuff like that. But the plot wasn't really that good, and the movie just kind of felt a little bit stale. Let's see what we have next. 1984. I didn't really like 1984. It was kind of, I'm remembering it like in my head before I actually rewatched it recently. I thought I actually really liked this film a lot, but it turned out that I didn't really like it as much as I thought I did, because it wasn't really that good. It has a lot of problems with the story, and a lot of problems with the characters, and the effects were alright, but the monster scenes were really slow, and the movie's really slow, so it's going to be tied with the Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. So let's see what we have next. Oh, I didn't watch this one. I guess I'll put it over there like this one. I haven't watched this one in a really long time, but just going off memory, it would probably be like around there too. Wait, let me think. Godzilla 2014. This is the one with the Mutos, right? And the let them fight or something. This one, I think it was what did I put it as? It had really good effects. I think that is what would make it better than a lot of other Godzilla films. It has good effects, has an alright story, it has alright fights, which is what I think makes it like a higher film, like overall in quality and stuff like that. Especially with like the animation that they have nowadays. But it doesn't mean that I like it more than these other films. But just that it did better with like the quality and stuff. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I think this is that one. Let's see what we have. This film was better than the Tokyo SOS. Is it better than this one? I think it is, because I put this one at a 6.5. So yeah, I'm gonna put this right here. This one was pretty good. You know, it's basically the same thing as Tokyo SOS, except better, because it doesn't feel like it's like the redone version of it, 2.0 or something. It feels more like the original, even though it's basically the same thing as like Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 and SpaceGodzilla. It still does it a lot more fresh, and it makes it feel a lot better with the freshness of the story. Okay, now we have all these anime Godzilla films down here. I'm not going to rank them, and the American one over there. But we have Shin Godzilla over here. Shin Godzilla. It was a pretty good film. Quality was there. The effects had some problems in the beginning, but then towards the middle. The middle is where the effects peaked at its best. The story was alright. The designs I didn't really like, which is what's gonna draw back on a lot of the rating right here. I thought it was an alright film. A lot of people put this like as like S tier or something, but I didn't really like it that much compared to a lot of other Godzilla films, but it's still gonna be a 6.8, so meaning it's higher than all these other ones. This one over here, the Godzilla against MechaGodzilla, this is a 6.5, and it's ahead of a lot of these other ones. So this is a 6, this is a 6.2, this is a 6.4, 6.5 I think, and this one's a 6.6, and this one's a 6.8. So Shin Godzilla was pretty good, but I didn't like in how much I enjoyed it. It's basically about the same as Godzilla 1984, maybe a little bit more since it was a lot more fast-paced and well done. We have the Godzilla versus Destoroyah. If you guys seen a lot of my videos, you guys know that this one is a common theme in a lot of those films, especially since I'm working on a comic book called Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Well, it's not called that, but it's something like that. So this one, I liked a lot of stuff in it. I think it's one of the best Godzilla films, so I'm definitely gonna put it up there with as S tier, since I gave it, I think when I first watched it, not first watched it, but recently reviewed the movie, I think I gave it an 8, so I'm gonna put it up here. Let's see what we have. Oh yeah, let me talk about this one first. The designs of Godzilla were really good. The effects were, I'd say they're pretty good. They did have some problems with the effects. The designs are some of the best with all the monsters destroying stuff. There's some like small destroyers that don't really look that good, but overall it's really good. The characters in the story are also really good, and that's why it's up here. It's an 8.8 out of 10 is I rated that one for. Let's see what else we have. The Godzilla vs. Gigan. I like this one. A lot of people don't like it. I could kind of see why. The fights compared to a lot of other... Wait, let me just put it here for a second. The fights compared to a lot of other Godzilla films are really slow compared to the Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. And since people like that one a lot, I guess I could see why they wouldn't like a slower paced fight. But I think the slower paced fight is a lot more realistic with how Godzilla would actually move around and stuff. So I liked it a lot, and I liked a lot of the camera angles that they used. It's a lot more creative. You could see the development compared to the previous films. And the score for the film is a lot better than some of the previous ones before this one, since they brought back the original Godzilla music director. I think that's what it's called. And I like Gigan's design, of course. King Ghidorah's design I didn't really like as much, but Godzilla has my favorite design in this film. And Gearus was alright, but I think his jaw was kind of starting to look a little bit weird. So I think I'll give this one, let me think, what did I rate this originally? I think I rated it 6.5, so I'm going to put it right here. Since I enjoyed that film a lot, even though it reused a lot of footage from previous Godzilla films, and it didn't really match the film at all. But I think the fight scenes and all the new stuff, the characters and the plot were really good. They're actually probably one of the best out of the Godzilla series, the characters and the plot, because I thought it was really interesting. You could watch just the story part of the film and be more entertained than a lot of other Godzilla movies if you just watch the fight scenes. So let's see what we have next. We have this one, Godzilla versus Hedorah. Let me just put it here for a second so I could scroll up. So this one I didn't really like that much, but if I was just ranking it based on how much I liked it, this one would probably be down here, maybe a little bit ahead of it. But basing it on all the things in the film, it had a good suit because it was using the suit from the suit they reused a couple times. I really like that suit. The Hedorah suit was well designed, and a lot of the effects were well done. But the story, the characters, the the fight scenes aren't really well done at all. A lot of slow plays. Godzilla actually has, I think, a second amount of screen time in this film or something. Second most screen time he's ever had in a film or something. Which is actually really surprising, since I thought some people say that the 90s Godzilla films have the most screen time for Godzilla, but oh well. So this one I didn't really like that much at all. So let me think. What did I rate this one? I think I rated it like around here. Yeah. But that seems about right. A lot of people put it like in a C or B, I mean, but I didn't really like this one at all. I think this will be like the lowest that it gets, I think. So basically this is I don't think there's going to be a D category. But let's keep going. We have Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Let me just put it here for a second. So this one was an interesting Godzilla film. It just goes into time travel, which isn't really a thing in Godzilla films that much, which makes the story more complicated and kind of confusing for a lot of people. Even though it's kind of simple if you listen to what they say in the film, but it's still confusing either way, because the main character, I forgot her, Emmy or something, that's her name, she kind of like turns for no reason, and she acts like she didn't know what was going to happen, and then later she says she knows what was going to happen. So I don't really understand that, but the characters, the plot, they were alright. They had some problems. The designs, I really like King Ghidorah's design. It's probably my favorite design for King Ghidorah. Godzilla's design was alright. It kind of looked a little bit too wide, I think, in the certain areas, and it kind of just like the proportions were kind of weird with him, and it kind of looked like the suit was a little bit like puppet looking sometimes, like with the way it moves around. It kind of looks like there's a guy in it, basically. But the fights, they were really good. I think the fights, they were probably some of the best in not in the series, but they're just really good fights. The effects were pretty good. They had some problems with some noticeable effects, but some effects that you don't know that are effects, I think those are some of the most important ones, because you don't really see them, but I think they're some of the best ones in the film. So with all that in mind, I think it's a pretty good film, and it's basically tied with Godzilla against MechaGodzilla, since I think both of them had problems, but both of them had really good things in them. So let's see what we have down here. Oh yeah, the classic Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. A lot of people like put this like up here or something, or up here. I didn't really like this film that much. It was kind of alright to me. The plot and the characters basically sort of like Destoroyah monsters over here. Oh, wait, where is it? Over here. Sort of like Destoroyah monsters. The story and plot was basically exactly as I remembered when I was around maybe 10 years ago. Basically, the story didn't really have much more depth to it, and neither did the characters, so the monster stuff. The designs were, because MechaGodzilla's design is probably one of the best out of the whole Showa era. Is basically something you would expect to see maybe from the Heisei era or something. But Godzilla's design is where it kind of goes downhill from there. It's kind of looking a little bit weird, plasticky a little bit, and he's kind of jumping around and stuff like that. Even though he did that before, it kind of looks a little bit more cartoonish here. So I forgot what I put this out. Let me see. It's gonna have to be over here, since I think it's better than all these other ones. But let's see what we have next. We have oh yeah, the Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. I thought this film Well, let's go into the plot first. The plot and characters were really good. I liked them a lot. Probably maybe my second favorite characters, with the first one I think being down the list. I think we didn't get to that one yet, but it's my second favorite plot and characters. Is very well developed, I think, in that area. I feel like it did a lot in story wise with what it could have done. Like a lot of films, especially like the 90s Godzilla films, because they can do so much with the realism and stuff like that. A lot of films I feel like don't really get to do what they could have done with like the story or something. But I feel like this one, I don't really see anything else they could have done, and I feel like it was done the best it could have been with the story. The designs and the fights, I think, are really good. Some of the most iconic scenes in Godzilla films is from this film. The effects are also really good. There are some effects that aren't really good with like the Rodan effects. Basically, if you get rid of Rodan's flying scenes, it's actually really good for the effects. But let me see, what would I rank this one? This one was pretty good. The first A is really good, but it's not quite an S. It has problems with the effects and the fight scenes. They're a little bit slow and off-paced a little bit. Godzilla against Megaguirus. Versus Megaguirus. Sorry, I'm confusing with the MechaGodzilla. Godzilla versus Megaguirus. This one had some problems, but it's basically the same as Godzilla 2000. That's why I remember. I rated these two the same, because where 2000 lacks in, Megaguirus makes up for it. But then where 2000 does really good in, Megaguirus lacks in. I think Godzilla 2000 has really good fight scenes and stuff like that, and designs and stuff like that. But Megaguirus does too, but I think the fight scenes were a little bit lacking, and the story was lacking a lot. And the effects were better, but they weren't really that good. So that's why I don't really remember why I put this at 6.2. I feel like it should be higher, but it's been a little bit since I've seen this one, so I'll just take my own word for it. Because I think it was pretty good, but it just didn't really have enough to like be over any of these other films over here. So it's gonna have to stay here. 6.2 for versus Megaguirus. So we have Godzilla versus SpaceGodzilla next. This one, a lot of people put this like down here or something, or like the C area. I thought this one, had a lot of problems. It was probably the most slow-paced Godzilla film. Yeah, I haven't seen the anime Godzilla films. Those are probably like the slowest paced ones, but it's the slowest paced one I've seen, with the fights and stuff and some of the story stuff. The story and characters, I think if that was better, it would be like closer up here, or maybe like somewhere. But the characters, the fights, they're kind of slow. Even though the fights are really good and creative, they're kind of slow. And the story and characters, I think it's just all really kind of, it's basically a slow kind of movie. It does some things well, but the story's kind of underdeveloped, and some things just like pop out of nowhere. And the effects they're actually what make up for this film a lot, because they're the best, I think, out of the Heisei era, the most consistent effects. And except for one scene in the space, which is like maybe like 10 seconds long. A lot of people just point that out to make the effects look bad, but then they don't show like, basically it's the effects that you don't see which make up for the effects, some of the effects that you do see for like 10 seconds. But where was I? So Godzilla's design is iconic, I think, in this film, and in versus MechaGodzilla too. But mostly in this film, because this is the first film where they're actually able to move his head sideways and up at the same time. So he can move his head in all kinds of directions for the main suit. And they don't have to use the animatronic that much anymore. So SpaceGodzilla's design was really good, and Megaguirus' design was really good too. So, with all that in mind, I think I'd put it. I think I put it up here because I give it a 6.9. I think. So yeah, I'll put that up there. It had a lot of things going for it with this film, but it had some problems with it. The story wasn't. It had some problems with the story. It had some problems with the slow pacedness and stuff like that. But the fights and the designs and the effects were all really good. Some were iconic and stuff like that. That's why I'm placing it this high on the list with it being a B, even though some people put it like down here or something, or in a D area or something, or in the C. So let's see what we have next. We have Ebirah, the Horror of the Deep. I think that's what it's called. This one actually was surprisingly good in the first half. I actually, watching it, I think, the first time in like 10 years or something, this one actually really surprised me because a lot of people don't like this movie at all. And so I was like, in halfway in, basically, I was like, why do people not like this movie? And then the rest of the half, I was like, I could kind of see why people don't like this movie. Because it kind of like, at their half mark, it kind of like, once they introduce Mothra and stuff, it kind of just kind of gets stale a little bit with the film and the writing and stuff like that. And the characters don't really go anywhere that much. Like the plot doesn't really go anywhere. It kind of just is there. So I think I'll put this, let me think. The designs, I think they were alright. With the Ebirah's design was really good, but the designs of like the buildings and stuff, and they were in the ship, they weren't really that good at all, and they kind of look like floating toys or something for the boats and stuff like that. But this one, it was actually surprisingly good, so I think I'd give it. Oh wait, it wasn't actually that good. Sorry, I forgot what I rated it. I actually put it at a D, which is, I guess it was like the second half of the movie. The first half, I think I would give it a 6. I think that's what I said in my review a while ago. And then the rest of it, it kind of brings the movie down a lot. So it would be like maybe like a B or like a C. But then like the rest of the half with the Mothra fight at the end, which wasn't really that good, that just brings it down to a D. So I haven't watched the movie in a while, so I thought I would put it like at least like a low C, but I guess I put it at a D when I first ranked it. Let's see what we have. Godzilla 2019. This one had some problems with like the fight scenes and the story and stuff like that. Basically, that's the main complaint about the movie. I don't really see how you can complain about anything else in the movie. Of course it has really good quality in the effects, but it's just that you can't really see anything in the movie. Basically like 2014, except maybe a little bit more extreme since they have even more monsters this time, yet they don't really show them clearly as much. So this film, I'm gonna put it even lower than this one, so about right here, since it wasn't as good as Godzilla 2014 in the story, which I think is what makes Godzilla 2014 a little bit better than this film. Next we have Godzilla vs. Biollante. A lot of people put this film like, usually like in the B area, since they put all the 90s Godzilla films this low. Or like they put it like in the S area, or the A. But I thought this film was an alright Godzilla film. It wasn't really that good, I don't think. I think it was alright. It had it had a lot of problems with the story and the characters and stuff like that. And the effects were alright, but I didn't really like the fights, and I don't really think it was a film that stood out that much, except for Biollante's design. That one was really good. And I didn't really like Godzilla's design that much in this movie. It kind of looked a little bit weird. So, even though the animatronic for Godzilla is really good, I think one of the best animatronics. But I just didn't really like the main suit that much, because it looked a little bit disproportionate. It's kind of whatever it's called. Sort of like the Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah suit, except I think maybe a little bit worse, since it just looked a little bit kind of wide. And yeah, I didn't really like the fights, the Godzilla scenes that much, and or the characters that much. But considering the quality of the film, it's gonna have to be this right here, a 6. So it's a 6 out of 10. It's better than Destroy All Monsters, but I don't think it's better than the rest of these. In my opinion, of course, you know. Next we have Final Wars. A lot of people probably put this one like in the C area or something. This one actually was pretty good. I actually forgot how, you know, pretty good it was. Alright. I messed up my words there for a second. I forgot how good this film was, since I haven't watched the full movie in probably like 10 years. There are certain scenes that I didn't really like that much with the fights and stuff like that. The characters were kind of strange, and but I liked a lot of the character stuff. Some of the character stuff, at least. And I liked a lot of the fight scenes, even though they were kind of really fast-paced and short, which I don't really like that part that much. But yeah, it was kind of like an alright, because a little bit better on the better side when it comes to this film. So Shin Godzilla is better, I think, than this one, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm putting Shin Godzilla above this film because I think that Shin Godzilla was just a overall better film than this one, even though I think it's like slightly better. Let's see what we have. Godzilla vs. Mothra. This one. This is one of the Mothra films, Godzilla films that I like a lot, I think. I think it did a lot of things right, but it also did have some problems with the film. A lot being with the designs of buildings and the design of Mothra and Mothra larva a little bit. I think if it had a lot of problems. It felt kind of rushed with like the building designs and stuff. They kind of looked flat, kind of square, kind of like oddly colored. They kind of look like, basically they look like clay. Like what's it called? Hard clay, not like molding clay, just like clay buildings. Like pottery clay or something. So, but it did have really good fights, and I think really good fights. A lot of people don't think so. They usually put this film like in the C or D or something. But I think it had really good fights and a really, really good story and characters. I really liked the story and characters. I didn't think ever in the film that the story or the characters went downhill at any point. It kind of like just, they were kind of there at one point, like during the fight scenes, they were kind of just there, but they weren't like feeling useless or anything at any point in the film. I don't think they were kind of just watching or something, and then at the end it kind of felt like a whole story with the characters. So I'm gonna put this one up here because I put it at a 7. I rated it as a 7, so it's not better than versus MechaGodzilla, but I put it up there because I thought it was really good, even though it has problems, and I probably won't rewatch it that much. But I also think that this is one of the highest rated Godzilla films in Japan, right? I think I saw like a scoring in Japan or rating in Japan or something. A lot of people like this film. That would make sense since this was one of the most selling Godzilla films of that time, except for, you know, some of the originals. But a lot of people like this Godzilla film in Japan, and I think in like the, what's called, the Godzilla Hotel or something, they have a lot of stuff with the Godzilla vs. Mothra. So I thought that was really cool. Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla. Sorry, Megalon. I don't know why I was thinking of MechaGodzilla. But, yeah, this film, if you want to hear more about it, go to my, the community tabs, and, probably like 6 months ago or something, my review on this film. Yeah, I didn't like this film. Yeah, it's probably in the right space over here. It's probably more like down here. It was just really not that good film. Yeah, the designs of the buildings and like the grass and stuff and the landscapes, they were actually really good. I was actually surprised that they put so much detail in it when they could have done it for better films or something. But maybe that's why the other parts of the films weren't good, because the grass and stuff like that was really good. So I don't know, but the fight scenes, there were some iconic scenes, but they're really goofy. I think overly goofy at times. And I actually forgot what the story is. Oh yeah, the story. The story is not really well done at all. It's kind of like, basically, if I thought of it in my sleep, basically, it's not really well developed at all. Anyone thought of it in their sleep. It's not really developed at all in the story or characters. Jet Jaguar is actually a really good idea with how you can shrink or like grow size so he could become a giant robot and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool with how he fights and stuff like that, and he could fly too. Even though I don't think he flew when he was big, right? I think he should have been able to fly. But yeah, I didn't really like this film at all. There's certain parts that I do like about it. I like how they brought Gigan back and Jet Jaguar, but that's about it, how much I liked from this film. So I think I put this film, I'm going to put it higher than this one since there is no E category. There's no room for that. But this Godzilla's Revenge is a 2, and this is a 3. So this is going to be, you just think about it like being in the E category. So it's not in the F, even though I think it probably should be there. But let's see what we have next. This, well, I was thinking of doing this one later, but a lot of people put this up here, and that's exactly what I'm going to do too, since I think that this is the best Godzilla film out there. And is an 8.15 out of 10. Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, I put it at 8 out of 10. This one is definitely one of the best ones, even though it's kind of slow paced in certain scenes. The music, the sound effects are kind of out of place in certain times, and the effects are, even though some people think that they're really good for the time, they're actually not really that good they're not like up to date with even Godzilla vs. King Kong's effects at the time. But I thought the story and the characters and the fights and stuff like that, even though the characters do have problems with the right there, but I thought the monster scenes were really well done, and I definitely think it's the best Godzilla film. So let's see what we have next. Raids again. This film was definitely the most boring Godzilla film out there. Definitely the most boring film I've seen. I've seen like documentaries and stuff like that, and they're more exciting than this film. This film has like silence in it for like 20 seconds or something at a time or something. Not just how much there's silence there is, but just like 10 seconds at a time or something. It's definitely a movie you could fall asleep to. It's at certain times, and then at certain times it's really chaotic and stuff like that. The characters weren't really that well done. The story wasn't really that well done. The fight scenes weren't really that well done. The effects, they're kind of there. They're basically the same as the previous film, although you kind of see the cheapness in some of the effects with them basically using an overlay thing where you basically use the same missile effects or something and then overlay it on the film, even though you could see that there's not any cuts in the film, even though there's cuts in them showing Megaguirus and Godzilla. But I guess if I ever do a video, I'll be able to explain it to you by showing it to you. But let's see what we have. What did I put this at? Oh yeah, I put it here. So yeah, definitely below. I would rather watch Ebirah, probably. I would actually rather watch Ebirah more than Godzilla vs. Hedorah, but we're just talking about everything in the film, not just how much I liked it. Invasion of the Astro Monster. Let me bring this up here. Wait a second. So I put the film that came out before this one, the Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, this low because I didn't really like it that much. I think I had a lot of problems with it. But Astro Monster was something I think a little bit more special. It's something was it did the stuff with the space, and I think it was a pretty well developed movie, even though it has its problems with the story and the characters and the plot and stuff like that. And some of the fights too, they're kind of boring a little bit, but they have a lot more action with Godzilla. And sorry, I had a hiccup. And the effects still aren't really that good in this film, but it's enough to put it at a 6 out of 10. Let's see what we have next. Godzilla versus King Kong. I haven't actually reviewed this one, but I did see it recently, maybe like a year ago or 2 years ago or something. So, but it's a pretty good film. I like this film. It's definitely one of the better Showa Godzilla films. Even though King Kong's design is the worst King Kong design, except for maybe some of the low budget King Kong films. But yeah, King Kong doesn't look like King Kong. He looks like something else that's not King Kong. Godzilla's design looks good from the side. Yeah, if you look at it from straight head on, it doesn't really look that good at all. It looks really strange. And the characters and the story wasn't. It was kind of a little bit boring, a little bit. But let's see what we have. We have what did I put this at? I put this film at 6.2. I don't think it's. Is it better than? Wait, actually, let me fix this for a second. Wait a second. Megaguirus was better than Godzilla 2000 because some of those effects weren't. I couldn't really stand some of those effects, but I think I put it higher than these films. Yeah. So let's see what we have next. Godzilla vs. Mothra. This film, a lot of people put like up here, or some people put it like down here or something, somewhere. They put it somewhere, but I don't think I've ever seen it put down here or anything. But this film, I think it has some things going for it, and then some things that just kind of like take those things away from it that are going for it. Because I don't think this movie was that good compared to other Showa Godzilla films. I think it had a lot of problems with its story and the characters, and definitely the fights. The fights are some of the most anticlimactic fights I've ever seen. With the Godzilla, they're just reusing footage over and over again of Godzilla waving his hands around with the Mothra's legs and stuff. And Godzilla and after all that for like 3 minutes or something, Godzilla just shoots his fire and then Mothra's dead. And then baby Mothras are able to beat Godzilla. Yeah, I think this movie, you have to think about it, everything about it, not just like what I didn't like. So with that in mind, is going to be a 6. A very low 6, but it's going to be a 6. Because I thought it was, yeah, not as good as the rest of these. But it's still there. It's definitely not one of the best. In my opinion, of course. Godzilla versus Son of Godzilla versus Son of Godzilla. I mean Godzilla versus Godzilla. I said it again. There's so many versus movies. Godzilla, Son of. Everything starts with Godzilla. Son of Godzilla. Yeah. Son of Godzilla was an alright Godzilla film. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought it would. I thought it would be like maybe like down here or something. And some people say that they actually really like this Godzilla film. I could kind of see why, because it was actually pretty good. It was pretty well developed Godzilla film. It actually felt like the most realistic one out of the Showa era. They mostly focus like on the people, with like the monsters being around them on this island. So, and I watched this one a lot when I was younger, and I thought it was, at the time I didn't really like. Even at the time I didn't really like Godzilla or Manila's design, but it kind of like worked in a way. And when watching it recently, it kind of worked in the same way. It still works, but unlike Godzilla Raids Again, where even though they have a decent Godzilla design, the movie still doesn't work. But Son of Godzilla, even though they have some of the worst designs for Godzilla and Manila, somehow it works. So, with everything in mind, with like the story and the plot and stuff like that, I think that this film, right Where did I put these other ones at? I think I put these all at like 5 out of 10s or something. It's not as good as GMK, but it's better than the rest of them on this list. These are all 5 out of 10s, I think I put them at. So this one's like a 5.5. Yeah, 5.5 out of 10. This one's a 5.8, I think I put it at. Let's see what else we have. We only have 2 films left. I've been recording for a long time. We have Terror of Mechagodzilla. This one people like a lot, which I can see, because if they think that this one's an A, then they should think that this one's an S, since this one's a lot better than Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Even though the plot and the story, even though it's still, the plot and story is still better than Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla's plot and story, but I think that compared to any other Showa Godzilla, mostly other Showa Godzilla films, the plot and story are kind of like underdeveloped and kind of really strange. The fight scenes were alright, but Godzilla doesn't beat Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla kind of just like dies by himself. And from the robot communications being destroyed or something. Yeah, it is kind of like an alright Godzilla film, which is why I'm gonna put it at. Is it better than Mothra? I think it's under Mothra, because I'd rather watch Mothra vs. Godzilla more than this one. So next we have Godzilla vs. Kong, the newest Godzilla film. Yeah. A lot of people don't really like this Godzilla film more than the other American Godzilla films. And I don't really know why, because I thought it was a really good Godzilla film. And King Kong film. I'm also a fan of King Kong's films, even though I don't really use a lot of King Kong stuff in my videos. But I thought the movie was really good. The effects are like really good. I think the best effects I've seen, especially since Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. All the effects were hidden in the dark. But Godzilla vs. Kong, I think like it has to be like more than 60% of the fight scenes were and the animation scenes were out in the daylight, which should be like extremely hard. But I don't really know what I rated this one. What did I rate this one as? Is it better than Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla? Because you basically have the same kind of movie right here. I don't really know. I put them both at a 6.9, but I don't really know which one's better. I think because they both had story and character problems. They both have really good designs. They both have fights that are really good. Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla doesn't really have. It has iconic scenes, but doesn't really have. They're kind of slow-paced fights, and I don't really know. Let me think about it for a second. The effects both are really good for the time, and I don't know. It's really hard. I don't really know what to rate them both as. I think I'd put. I'd have to think about this for a couple seconds. I think I put it right there, because I can't really put this above Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, since I think that Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, had Megaguirus, had SpaceGodzilla, had Godzilla. All these things are like very iconic in the Godzilla franchise, and the fights I think I really like a lot. Godzilla vs. Kong kind of felt more like maybe like a martial arts fights or something, more like newer fighting and stuff. It didn't really like have anything like super iconic with like sort of like the explosion and the end of Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, or like I like all the new stuff Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla had. It kind of like broke new ground. But Godzilla vs. King Kong is kind of basically the same thing as Godzilla vs. King Kong, as well as some other as well as using other things in older American films. But yeah, that was about it. I haven't watched any of these other films recently. I haven't watched these anime films at all, but I've seen clips of the fight scenes, or, I say fight scenes very carefully because I didn't really see any fighting. But yeah, these movies were there. I haven't watched this one yet, but I don't know what I'll give it. Maybe I'll give it like a 5 out of 10 or something below versus Hedorah or something, but I don't really know. I haven't seen it. I'm gonna review it soon. So yeah, that's about it, I guess, from my review. We have the Godzilla first movie right here, the 8.15 out of 10. We have an 8 out of 10 right here. We have a 7.6. We have a 7 out of 10. We have a 6.9. We have a 6.9, 6.8, 6.8, 6. I don't really know what I rated the rest of these, but yeah, they're here. And first ranking video, I think. I think maybe I'll do Godzilla designs next. But yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Most of you probably don't agree with all these ratings. Maybe like some of these down here, but yeah. This is my ranking for the Godzilla films that I've seen recently, as well as a few I haven't seen recently, like these 2 American films over here, Godzilla films. But yeah, that's about it for this ranking video with some explanation of why I'm ranking them there. So thank you for watching this video, and see you guys later.